Hey, it's Dom Griffin, your favorite film critic, and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, television series reviews, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and you like movie adjacent popular culture and to see somebody pick those things apart, then you're in the right place and you should consider subscribing. Today we are not reviewing Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I just watched the movie like an hour ago, and this is a video about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I didn't clickbait you, but I'm not going to call it a review of the movie because, one, I just saw it an hour ago, and two, I'm reviewing the film for the Baltimore Beat, but my review is not going to run until next week's issue. So this is more like a first impressions video, I guess, sort of like a teaser, I suppose. I am going to share my thoughts about the movie, clearly. Otherwise, why would I do this to you? But I'm not going to get into like nitty gritty plot details, stuff like that, really like tightly coiled analysis, like kind of going forward, what I'm doing at the Baltimore Beat, like that's going to be where I feel like my prime movie reviews are going to end up. I'm doing my little Pauline Kael thing over there. I think everyone there is building something really special, and I feel really honored to be a part of that. So like if you want to see like my real reviews, like those are probably going to end up at the Beat, and then sometimes at Looper because I'm still writing there. I'm going to try to transition to making, when I do cover new movies for the channel, it being a little more conversational, a little more freeform, a little more fun, I guess. And that'll also open up the avenue to me going back to doing more long-form video essay stuff, which people have been clamoring for, and I have just not been giving. So we got to fix that. However, I have a lot of thoughts about the movie that are probably not going to fit into that review that I'm going to write. So this is going to be more like, just pretend you just caught me out of the theater as I walked out, and we're just going to kind of talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 2, Black Panther, Electric Boogaloo. So if you're not new to the channel, you know that I feel like for the last like 6 or 7 months, every time someone asks me what I think about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and like if I think it's going to be good, if I'm looking forward to it, I constantly have to be like, no, I think it's going to suck. Now, I don't have to be like that. I don't have to be that pessimistic. But from the moment we found out that they were not going to recast Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, to me, I just knew like, well, the movie's doomed. Like it's very clear that if they had a core concept for Black Panther 2 fully written and fully ready to go right before he passed, and they had to fast track rewrite it to get the movie out without him, I knew that meant they were probably going to write just a bunch of material and then edit it together and hope for the best. And like everything we've heard from like the leaks and stuff and like the early trailers all gave me that feel. Like they're probably just going to, for lack of a better term, milk Chadwick's death. And try to market this movie as sort of being like almost like a live funeral for him in some way, and that the movie itself was not going to work or function properly. Like I constantly was having like visions of Ryan Coogler bent over in Avid Bay, just ready to go home, you know, with like Kevin Feige with a gun to his head or something. Like I had very, very low expectations for this movie to be even watchable. I don't mean like I didn't think it was going to be good. I was concerned it was not going to be watchable. I thought it was going to be a mess. But having seen the movie, I can report that I was pleasantly surprised. We can start there. I have some positive things to say about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I went in very, very not excited, not looking forward to it, not hyped, none of that stuff. I don't have a lot of that left for most new superhero movies at this point, but I was just like, all right, this is happening. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna see what goes on. Let's keep an open mind. Let's keep an open heart. I try to, no matter what, go into movies trying to be fair. Like, you know what? If I end up liking it, was the worst that could happen. That's a good thing. I like liking things. That's cool. And I will say, I really enjoyed the movie for for a period of time. The movie's very long. I think it comes in at like 2 hours and like 45, 50 minutes. It's pretty long. And there's a lot of things that I really dig about it. Like without getting into big of like details and stuff, and like I know people get about spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything, even though I will be very honest with you. If you've seen anything related to like leaks about this movie's plot, or if you've watched the trailer and you kind of piece together what you think is going to happen in the movie, most of those things happen in the movie. It's that kind of movie. However, in execution, there's actually stuff here that I was really into. So the things that I liked about the movie can really kind of be nailed down to like 3 core people who I think like together hold this movie up on their backs. One is Ludwig Göransson, who did the score for the first movie, won an Oscar for the scoring Black Panther 1, and he also scored Tenet and a bunch of other stuff. He's also like produced a lot of the music for Childish Gambino and Donald Glover. Ludwig really brings it. The score for this movie is exceptional. It's, again, like, these two movies are like the two best Marvel movies in terms of having like actual good, recognizable themes and music, like really good stuff. So Ludwig really, there's so many different sequences in the movie where I was like, this what I'm seeing is fine, but the score is like really bringing it to like a higher level. So good job, Ludwig. Good on you. Another person who brought it hard, Angela Bassett, who we all already know going into the movie can do no wrong. So like Angela Bassett, like the poster for this movie should just be like Atlas, just like her with like Ryan Coogler, the torture rack, just like she really makes so much of the movie work in a way I don't know if any other actress could make it work. Like, she's exceptional. I've already seen people talk about like an awards campaign for her. There doesn't seem to be a lot of other frontrunners for Best Supporting Actress, so like this might be her year to win an Oscar, and I'm fine with her having it if it goes that way. And then the third person is Tena Huerta, who plays Namor. Rules. Is just great. Is fantastic. Maybe the like easiest, best villain in a Marvel movie ever. Like it's not even funny. It's not even a joke. I'm a little biased in that Namor is one of my favorite characters in the comics, and I was a little surprised that a character who's been like at least artistically coded as like Asian for so long, that they went in this other direction to make him sort of more like it's like the Mayan, like kind of like, you know, like Hispanic like background to the character. It's very unique and it's interesting and it rules. Like, honest to God, if this was just a Namor movie, if they were like, hey, the Black Panther thing's not going to work out, we're just going to make a Namor movie instead, I would have been so in the bag for it, because the casting is great, the actor is fantastic, all the different little adjustments they make to his origin to make him fit into like this new idea and this new retelling, good shit, like really into it. Absolutely adore him. I was like, all right, cool, this guy rules. He's fantastic. This is great. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, okay, cool, this is good. But everything that I like about the movie is like in the first like 2/3 of the movie. Okay? Everything I didn't like is later. So here's the thing. I would go into this movie with all this negativity. I've been telling people like it's gonna suck, it's probably not gonna be good, it's probably not gonna be watchable. And for the first like hour 45 minutes, I am eating my words. The whole time I'm like, you know what? Maybe they pulled it off. Against all odds, maybe Coogler's just that good. The team altogether was just so dedicated to trying to honor Chad's memory. Maybe they pulled it off, man. Like, maybe this is actually like a legit movie. It's like easily maybe the best thing in Phase 4. Up to a certain point in the film, I was like, this might be the most I've liked one of these movies since the first one, you know? And I was like really into it. So an hour and 45 minutes of eating my words. And then after a key climactic moment in the story, a full hour of just blowing those words back out in vomit chunk form, because the movie just kind of falls apart and turns to hot garbage. And I just could not, I was just not into it. So there's a number of reasons why I think the movie doesn't work past a certain point. And I don't want to get like too in the weeds about like actual plot detail, but I'll just kind of say that like the movie puts a lot of emphasis on the fact that it's dealing with T'Challa's death, but we're really not really dealing with T'Challa's death. We're dealing with Chadwick Boseman's death. Like, so much of the way his death is presented is reminding you that this movie is sort of like a funeral dirge, and it's sort of like everyone mourning this fantastic actor who led this franchise and did an amazing job, and like we all loved him, and now he's gone, and that really sucks. But this franchise, the mega franchise of the MCU, just kind of dealt with losing a big character when Iron Man died. Robert Downey Jr. didn't die. He's still alive doing whatever with his tons of money that he's earned from these movies. But like, the character Iron Man died, and the character Iron Man meant a lot to the Marvel Universe. So like, after like the drama of like Tony's funeral and the drama of Peter Parker being sad that he's gone, all this different stuff, now that we're mourning like a real guy, the imagery is not all that different. Like, there's shots that kind of feel like this looks like stuff from when Peter was sad that Tony Stark died. And in a way, it sort of lessens the impact of like, wow, we're really mourning this fantastic actor who died too young, because the world itself is still just too fake Do you know what I mean? Like there's things, there's elements to the visuals. Cinematography is like pretty beautiful for a lot of the movie. I think Rachel Morrison shot Black Panther 1 and then she was working on something else. So they replaced her with Autumn. I can't remember her last name. I'll put it up on the screen. Autumn, who shot Loki and she's shot other films. She shot Gia Coppola's Mainstream and some other stuff. She's a fantastic cinematographer. There's a lot of really rich visuals at play. Like when the movie's not doing action stuff, when it's just being like a movie and a drama. And some of the stuff, though, about Chadwick's death, it just feels flat. It doesn't feel as like intense because like we just did this in these movies. We already did this thing where a big hero died. It's very hard to depict real world death, a character dying and being dead for real, in like a superhero world where characters like, you know, death is like a wishy-washy thing, you know, like it's a winking and a nod, like maybe we'll bring this person back later. So that part's very strange and a little bit off-putting, to be entirely honest. Every auditorium that you see this movie in for the next couple of months is definitely going to have people showing up, treating it like a real-world funeral, and I don't begrudge them that mourning whatsoever. But for me, watching it, I was just like, I don't know. The other problem is the Namor stuff. I know I was just saying Namor's like the best thing in the movie, but like, in Black Panther 1, there was a lot of controversy in the months after the movie came out, and people saw it multiple times and got to sit with it and wrestle with its themes, about how Killmonger was a villain who, for the most part, ideologically felt like a hero, in the mold of Marvel villains who you kind of root for, like Magneto and stuff, where you're like, okay, technically when he talks about murdering a bunch of people and like genocide, that's bad, but like Killmonger was a character where you're like, I really feel for this guy. He's a very like compelling villain and he's sympathetic, you know? And then they have to kind of lean his character more in the direction of being like, you know, like a CIA puppet and pro-violence, all this different stuff, so that he seems like a bad guy. Even though we kind of want to root for him the whole time, he's like bad. They have him like do all these things to remind you, bad guy. The same thing happened with other Marvel villains since then. Like this has happened with a lot of characters, actually. Here, with Namor, it's worse. Because they don't even nerf him. They don't even put a lot of effort into making him as a character like showing like he's kind of a motherfucker. He's kind of shitty. He's kind of like all these things. If anything, they made Namor here on screen way more likable and relatable and understandable than Namor in the comics, who does go through massive periods of being a complete motherfucker. In this movie, it is hard to root against Namor. And part of that is because there isn't a really strong, compelling figure on the other side that you can agree with and root for. You can tell the way the movie was written was that I'm pretty sure all the Namor half of the script was kind of what it was supposed to be for Black Panther 2 had Chadwick lived. So a lot of that stuff feels unchanged, like from what the movie that we get here is. But everything on the Wakanda side, everything on the Black Panther half, they have to do so much work to wrestle with T'Challa's death, to give these myriad supporting characters like these kind of bigger, meatier arcs as they all deal with grief in their own way. And it leads to a movie that has just too much happening on one side of it that doesn't line up with like the main thing that's going on with Namor. I don't want to get into super details about it because like you guys will see and you'll see what I mean, but like there's just too much shit happening and the other side of the movie, and it doesn't all line up properly. You can tell that it's a little bit hastily written, and they probably wrote multiple versions of it, and they even shot multiple versions of it, and then just cut it together as best they could. All the work it takes to maneuver around Boseman's passing leads you with these like muddled themes, very confusing themes, characters doing things that are just like very strange, and then this questionable plotting, and like it's rough. There's a lot of stuff that happens past the 1 hour 45 minute mark where I just like did not care. Like a lot of the big action set piece stuff like didn't even nail for me because I wasn't like emotionally invested. So much of big budget action movies, if you can keep people invested in the character and into like the story, the action, any excursion into spectacle is fine because you're invested in what's happening. Every time an action set piece broke out, I was not invested in the people they wanted me to be invested in. I know I'm kind of a guy who cheers for heels when he watches pro wrestling, but this isn't like that. It's not like Namor is a bad guy and I like him because he's cool. Like, he's not like... I feel like Namor in the comics feels kind of like Vegeta a little bit. Nah, this version of Namor is just really, like, cool. And, like, I just dug him. Like, the one key thing he does to make him, like, the villain of the movie for the most part, it's bad, but you're like, I don't know, dude, it makes sense to me. Key thing I want to say here is if Ryan Coogler was not such a patient storyteller and such a like kind of earnest storyteller, someone who I think is really attuned to like trying to tell emotional stories and character beats and stuff, and if he didn't have such a rich ensemble of very talented black actresses who played supporting parts in the first movie, all ready to kind of like fill the void that Boseman left by like making their characters a little bit bigger and a little more stronger. Like if they weren't ready to show up and do really heavy lifting, this movie just would not work. I don't mean it would be like less good or like problematic. I mean it would be like a fucking disaster. Like if you didn't have these women being as good as they are with some quite frankly questionable material, wouldn't even be watchable. Like it's kind of impressive that they were able to pull it together to the degree that they did. Like I can't take that away from them. It's a hard position they were in. I feel like they should have just either not made the fucking movie or recast T'Challa, but the route that they had to go, they did the best they could with it, I think. Unfortunately, in order to make those things happen, in order to be able to sell this story as being like sort of like a sad funeral epilogue for Chadwick Boseman's death, they had to tell a story that feels so disjointed and has actually compelling themes, and the most compelling parts of the story are completely neutered and compromised and strange. And it's exactly the way almost every Marvel movie, it's like, look, every time you make like a sci-fi movie, like Star Wars or something, or like a superhero movie, whatever, and you try to draw upon like real life historical shit to make it feel prescient, to make it feel important, to make it feel like dramatic, like at some point you're going to have to fork away from the real world to tell your little like childish morality play or whatever. And when you do that, you're making a lot of really silly statements about like real serious things. And it doesn't matter. Like it's okay to make like a movie. Like, I don't think every superhero movie needs to be, you know, like a serious fucking, it doesn't need to be a Cannes or something. They're not all fighting for the Palme d'Or. But if you're going to make a superhero movie and you're going to try to draw from like real shit, when you dovetail away from that real shit to be kind of like your cutesy, go back to your superhero world bullshit, it feels insulting, honestly. Like there's a lot of stuff in the third act of this movie where I was just like annoyed. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, this is dumb. This is like fucking stupid. Which sucks because I remind you, for the majority of the film, I was really into it. I thought that everyone was doing it the best they could. I thought it was an actually compelling story. I was into it. And then just botched it. I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm still wrestling with it. It's only been an hour or two since I watched it. I still have a full review I have to write. If you're interested in like a more thought out, mannered, measured, processed take on the movie, please check out the new issue of the Baltimore Beat next Wednesday when it comes out. I will have my review there, like my full real review. I just kind of want to share my thoughts about the movie and make myself sort of a conduit to like if people have questions about it or anything. But like I wanted to have something up before the movie's released so that you can kind of see my feelings and my take on things, and also to eat a little bit of crow. I felt like I needed to be honest that like, hey, I did talk a lot of shit about this movie all year, and I ended up liking it a fair amount, but it's still just doesn't work. And I know there's gonna be a lot of think pieces and all that shit and all this stuff, you know, looking forward to that. But that's Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I don't know. The world feels like it's in such a different place from when Black Panther came out. Like it feels like it's been so much longer than it really has been, just because of the way time and the world has been moving. But it's interesting to me that this many years have passed, this many things have happened, and the movie ends up essentially repeating almost the same mistakes as the first movie, only broader. I thought that was really unique. That's a weird thing that I can't think of other movies where it's like, oh, usually sequels either learn from their mistakes or forget what worked in the first place. And this movie is like, no, let's just double down. I know people hated that one element of the first movie. Let's double down on it. Let's just do it, you know, and that's strange. Anyway, no more rambling for me. Those are my feelings about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, my fresh first impression feelings. There will be, like I said, a full review next week that you guys can check out. Once it goes live, I'm going to check my Twitter. Just it'll be out there. In the meantime, if you have any questions about the movie, you can comment below and I'll answer them to the best of my ability without spoiling things. If you have any questions about anything really, like, you know, that's what I'm here for. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Like I said, we're going to get back to doing more video essay type stuff on the channel again. I'm very excited to get back into that realm soon, hopefully. If you have any comments, do them below. I'll be here to answer them pretty much all week, I guess. So thank you guys again for watching and supporting. I hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.